All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dow. I want to come on here this morning, and the one thing I want to do is I want to try my best to give wisdom and to teach about questions, answering questions or making statements. First of all, number one, realize this. We as individuals and people, if someone asks us a question, many times we feel obligated to answer the question. And the reason why we feel obligated to answer the question is because simply we don't exercise self-control. We always have something to say about everything. But however, when it comes to law, when it comes to interviews, when it comes to debate, discussions, generally, this is how they usually handle things like this. Before the camera is even cut on, what they usually do is they usually have a general discussion about the questions that are going to be asked. Even if you go into what they call a court of law, they have pretty much a summary and a generalization of the questions that are going to be asked, and it is considered very inappropriate to ask those type of questions or any type of questions that was not set out or set forth. When you were practicing or getting ready to answer the question. Because, see, a lot of times, many questions are laced with doubt. Many questions are laced with the assumption of lynching someone. Or many questions are asked to rock someone back on their heels, because human sentiment is, if I can't answer this question, then there's some type of omission of either wrong or guilt or ignorance. And that's just simply not true. Myself personally, I don't have to have somebody to give me a list of questions that are possibly going to be asked in reference to a subject, topic, or debate. When you have the spirit of truth, and when you're just going to simply tell the truth, you're prepared for all questions. You don't have to worry about how to spin the answer or spin a question or catch someone off guard. Because as long as you are a man or woman of truth, you don't have to ever worry about being caught off guard. Now, will people like your answers? No. A lot of times people ask questions because they want to insult, they want to disparage. And you know what's amazing? Listen to me on this very much. Please listen to me. A lot of times when people ask you a question, they have probably mulled that thing over in their head or in their mind for days, sometimes maybe even weeks on end. And while they have spent all this time preparing this question, they expect for you to answer it right then and there. Right then and there. Now, I understand we are supposed to be prepared to give an answer to every man for the reason of the faith, not questions that lies in us. But wisdom would teach. First of all, if someone ever asks you a question, you are under no obligation at that particular time to answer it. You can even say, let me think on it and I'll get back with you. But because of individual pride or something like that, some people will say, they would throw out an answer that later on they may regret. I'll give you an example. Apparently, there were a list of questions for the candidates to answer. That's the reason why they all seem like that they are up on policy. They are up on world events because no question that the interviewers are asking them is catching any of them off guard. But however, there will be some that will literally go off script and then catch you at a moment when you're vulnerable or you haven't even prepared for. And for instance, Donald Trump gave a truthful answer straight from the heart about the abortion issue. And of course, now you watch it, everybody pile on, both the Democrats and the Republicans. Republicans, like Jesse Ventura said. And everybody is capitalized on it. But, this is nothing new, because everybody, you can tell who the establishment people who are. Because they all say the same things, they all speak the same things. Kind of makes you wonder if they all watch each other in order to know how to give an answer, or if Rupert Murdoch is actually scripting these answers for each and every last one of them. Because, you may think that you have different news sources or independent news sources. But how can you have independent news sources when every single news source out there in the public venue is owned by either 1 to 6 corporations? No, that's a monopoly. That's exactly what that is. So the scope of this video is you're not obligated to answer questions simply because someone asked. If they demand an answer right then, you tell them sorry. I'll get back with you later. And that's the wisest way to deal with it, because you need to know intent. You need to know reason. You need to know why that these questions are being asked. And everybody that asks any questions of you whatsoever at all is really, truly, they don't have a pure intent. Most people use questions to catch you at your words, to get you to stumble over your words, so that they can then go back and throw back up in your face what you have already said. So don't be so quick to rush to judgment, and don't be so quick to answer a question when you've had these people think on it for weeks, probably months on end, and then they ask you a question, they want an answer right then and there. That's not wise. That's simply not wise. And especially if you're in a debate format. When you go into a debate, all right, any questions that are usually asked, they have already done mold. The narrator has already done mold over these questions and stuff, and they ask each contestant or each party that has participated in the debate the possible questions that could be answered. And then when you get into it, what happens is that some of them, they may have a list of questions, all right, and they'll watch this. They will form a question, but it really truly won't be a question based on the list that's there. They will use some words out of their list and totally catch you off guard. And the whole purpose is because they want your character to be in question. And it's just a sad thing. So the best thing to do is to say, let's move on to the next question. Well, won't you answer the question? Oh, I will when I get time. Well, don't you have an answer right now? Yeah, I have an answer, but I'm not going to answer because I don't want to speak foolishly. I want to think on this just like you have spent time thinking on this question. So I think that I'm afforded the right to actually have time to consider this question and answer in my time, since that's not what we agreed upon in this prior to this debate. Now what you're doing is you're rocking and putting the people on their heels. The one who has been dishonest, the one who's been a bunch of snakes in the grass and everything else. And so they're lynching Donald Trump in reference to this abortion thing. I agree. I think that anybody who kills babies should be put to death themselves. Now, my perspective comes from the Torah. You may not like it. None of my business. Your issue is not with me. It's between him, the creator of the universe, and you. I'm just a mouthpiece, a messenger. I am echoing the literal sentiments of what the Bible says. I had somebody the other day, well, Pastor Dow, what if a 16-year-old girl goes out here and have sex and gets pregnant and stuff and she don't want the baby? Don't you think that she should have the right to an abortion? And I go, hell no. I think that the foolish, stupid, young, dumb 16-year-old shouldn't have never opened up her legs and had sex. As a matter of fact, I think that she should have waited till she got married so she could have been an honorable young woman rather being turned out as some whorish young little girl. But then to turn around and call a baby a mistake because you made the choice and decision to open up your legs to let some man come in and assert himself and then make a baby, and you call it a mistake, and then you want to murder that baby? No, you are a liar and you are a murderer, and the truth is not in you. See, that's old-fashioned values, and I'm going to say it again. There is no republic without morality, because morality is what defines a republic. But when you have a nation that there's literally no laws, no rules, no govern, no regulation, but this dang do as thou will stuff, we're looking at the decline of a society. We are Rome, no doubt about it. Make no mistake about it. And so they start throwing now all these hypotheticals, which have nothing to do with reality. Hypothetical this, hypothetical question this. Let's deal with reality and stop with all this abstract junk, because no matter what answer I give, it's still not going to be sufficient enough for you. Do you understand? Do you understand? So I can throw 1,000 hypothetical questions right back, You're not ready to answer them. So let's just deal with stark reality. All right. That's the bottom line. And the bottom line is this. The United States of America, as we know it, is a very wicked, full of iniquity, sinful, transgressed nation. That's what it is. And we don't know right from wrong anymore. There's no right from wrong. There's even no absolutes in this world anymore. That's the reason why people are having difficulty discerning what's good and what's evil. They don't know what's good and they don't know what's evil because so much evil has been done and so much evil continues to be done and so much lying, so much misrepresenting, so much falsifying information, so much or so many people telling one side of the story, and that's all that they want you to hear. And then, of course, if you know, the deception is if you are fond of somebody who's telling one side of the story, you getting ready to find out how wicked your heart is, because you're supposed to hear both sides and then make a rational decision, not be one taking bribes, not being one holds men or women personage in admiration for an advantage or gain. That ain't the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to hear both sides to every story. I don't care if they're your husband. I don't care if they're your wife. I don't care if they're your friend, your pizzo, your chum, your pal, your colleague, your constituent. It makes no difference. Bottom line is, if there's anything coming forth and somebody's making a statement or somebody's saying something, you're supposed to take that with a grain of salt, but you really truly are not supposed to pattern or form your life after anything until you hear the other side, providing that they bring you into business. See, but again, excuse me, if we don't have anybody in this country that is going to have any morals about anything, if there's literally going to be no absolutes about anything whatsoever at all, then what's going to define morality? The Supreme Court? Who's going to define the absolutes? I mean, after all, truth. What is truth? Where is truth? And where did this come from? I have a definition of what I call the truth. I sure do. I sure do. I've got a very good definition, but you may disagree. But at the end of the day, if my truth doesn't do you any harm, I'm not talking about your sorry feelings and emotions. I'm talking about just a flat out truth, because one thing about truth is truth always hurts. Again, I said it once and I'll end it on this. In the Bible, it says in John 8:32, it says, you shall know the truth. Watch this. Watch this. And the truth shall make you free. Do you know what that means? That means all before you come into the knowledge of knowing this truth, you have been a slave. You've been captive. Yeah, that's right. That's what it's implying. Look, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That means that you are a slave and you're in bondage if you do not know the truth. And your freedom, your liberation can only come, and you can only be set free when you know the truth. Until then, the lie has you bound. And of course, we have a nation where people have become used to being slaves. Matter of fact, loving their chains. You know, entitlements, slavery, loving their chains. Because as long as somebody is giving you something while you have chains on you and it's appeasing your flesh, you think that you are seriously free. You have had no liberation whatsoever at all. You've been chained up so long that even if we bust the shackles and take the lock off and set you free, you wouldn't even know what to do. I could take you 500 miles and drop you off in another state somewhere else and say, here, you free. But you know what many you would do? You would trek across desert. You would trek across mountains. You would trek across valleys and streams just to get right back to that state that has enslaved you. And this is the result of your mental enslavement. You don't want to be free, because you know why? To be free means you have to take responsibility for your own self. And most people in this country is simply not willing to do it. So, hey, I hope I educated you some way, somehow today, this morning. I hope I put a defibrillator on your mind to get you to think, because after all, I'm a presenter of information. I'm here to help you whether you like it, understand it or not. One thing is for sure, if you apply the principles and the teachings that Pastor Dow is teaching you, you will find out I have been the best friend that you have never, ever had. At least one thing, I love you enough to tell you the truth.